Welcome back to the Rise with Anita podcast, or welcome if you're new here. If you are new here and you're listening to me for the first time, I just want you to know I truly believe that the conversations that are meant to find you always do. So if you are listening to this for the first time, this is a space where ambition meets embodiment, where soul meets strategy, and where we don't just talk about transformation. We learn how to actually live it. So today's episode is for the woman who thinks she's done all the work on herself. She's read the books, she's listened to the podcast, gone to the seminars, done the therapy, taken the courses. She knows her patterns. She understands where they stem from. And yet, sometimes she still finds herself in a position of overthinking, people-pleasing, questioning herself, getting triggered by the same things she thought she'd healed. And maybe part of her is wondering, why doesn't it feel any different by now? So if that's you, this conversation is for you. But before we dive in, I am going to invite us to arrive together. So if you're able to, and you have the means to, please gently place your feet on the ground. Relax your shoulders, close your eyes, unclench that jaw, and take a slow inhale through the nose for 4, 3, 4. Hold for 4, 2, 3, 4. And release through the mouth for 6. And slowly inhale again for 4. Hold for 4. And release through the mouth for 6. Now I want you to simply notice, how am I arriving today? What is it that I'm carrying in this moment? And from that observation, I just want you to notice, not think about how you're going to fix it or change it. Just create the awareness. So from that place, we begin. Here's the thing. One of the biggest misconceptions in personal development is that awareness alone creates change. Now, don't get me wrong. Awareness matters. And awareness is a powerful first step in changing. But awareness alone isn't transformation. It helps you see the patterns. But when we think about it, healing changes your relationship to the pattern. So for example, maybe today you recognize when you are people pleasing. 10 years ago, you might not have. That's growth. It should be celebrated. Maybe today you notice when you're abandoning yourself. Before it was on autopilot. That's also growth. Maybe today you actually catch yourself when you're spiraling into overthinking. Before you thought every thought that came through was true. That's growth. The problem isn't that awareness creates a space, a gap. There's a gap between what you know intellectually and what you consistently embody. And that gap can feel incredibly frustrating because now you're aware enough to see your patterns happening as they are unfolding, but yet you're not fully embodied enough to stop it every single time. And here's one thing I want to take a quick note on. There are going to be moments you slip out. That's where grace, compassion, etc. come in, because that's part of the human experience. But this is also where a lot of women mistakenly feel that they're failing. But what if you're not actually failing? What if you're actually in the middle of the process? Because healing isn't just about consciously changing your thoughts. It's about changing your patterns your nervous system are used to that help you survive. When we think about the example or the analogy of learning to drive or ride a bike even, the first time you sat behind the wheel, you understood conceptually what driving was. You've already read through the books, you passed your permit, but you had no actual embodiment in the feeling of being safe doing it. So it's the same thing. Understanding and feeling safe are two different experiences. Your body needed the repetition, experience, practice. The same is true for healing in any capacity. So you may understand boundaries, but your body may still associate boundaries with rejection. You may understand self-trust intellectually, but your nervous system may be risking it as trusting yourself is a risk. You may understand your worth intellectually, but your body may still be in this, I need to prove, I need to perform, I need to protect myself. And that's why healing often does feel slower than we want it to, because it's a lifelong journey. And here's the thing, we're not simply just changing beliefs. We're learning to create safety around the new ways of being. And safety, like everything else, takes repetition. Not perfection, repetition. Tony Robbins often says, repetition is the mother of skill. And that's true in learning a new habit, but it's also true in creating the safety within your own body. So often women come to me and they're like, I don't know what's wrong. I know better, but why am I still doing this? Why am I still repeating my patterns? And the answer is usually simple, because knowing and becoming and embodying are not the same thing. And here's the thing. Oftentimes, it also stems from perhaps a belief that you are not worthy of that new outcome, that new level. And you can know you're worthy, but still yet struggle to receive because you don't fully believe it. You can know you're safe and still have anxiety. You can know you deserve a love that feels healthy and joyous and still find yourself reaching for familiar dynamics because that's what your nervous system is comfortable with. That doesn't mean your work isn't working. It means that your body is still learning to embody what the mind already understands on an intellectual level. So the goal is not to get to a place where you're never triggered again. Sorry to say. As I've mentioned, and I've done a whole podcast episode on this, triggers are teachers. The goal isn't perfection or to act like everything is going to be perfect and in flow all the time, because that's not part of the human experience. The goal is to get to a place where you notice your patterns sooner. You recover faster from these intermediate moments where things don't feel like they're working. You begin trusting yourself more and returning to yourself more at a quicker speed each time. That's what healing actually looks like. Not becoming someone new necessarily, but becoming less controlled by your patterns that once ran your life. So if you've been feeling discouraged lately, if you've been looking back at your experiences thinking, wow, I've done so much work. Why doesn't this feel different yet? Or it doesn't feel different enough? I want you to consider something. Maybe the evidence isn't that you need to eliminate every single struggle. Maybe the evidence is that you're no longer unconscious to it. Maybe the evidence is that you pause where you once reacted. This is a powerful, powerful tool. If you can actually, before you fire off a text message, before you send the email, before you even have that conversation. If you can allow yourself to have that objective view where you strip things away, strip the stacking of the emotions, strip the potential disappointments away. If you can pause and just see, what is the seed of this? What am I truly feeling? What am I reacting to? You'll have a different experience. So that one pause can actually create an experience where you're responding differently. And maybe the evidence is that you can start seeing the pattern while it's still happening, and you can consciously choose to shift. So maybe it looks like that your proof isn't that you're behind, it's that you're right on time. Maybe it's proof that you realize you're finally further along than you once were, and you weren't giving yourself the grace to realize that. So before we close, I'm going to ask and invite you to take one final breath together. Place a hand on your heart if you feel that will support you in this journey. Take a slow inhale through your nose for 4. Hold for 4. And gently exhale through the mouth. So let this be your reminder. I do not need to be perfect to be healing. I do not need to have arrived to be growing. I do not need to have everything figured out to trust the process. And just allow that to land. Not just in your mind, but in your body and your soul. So if this episode resonated with you, share it with a woman who may need this reminder today, because so many women are quietly questioning whether it's working. And sometimes hearing that they're not feeling, that they're just simply in process, can change everything. As always, thank you guys for being here. And until next time, remember, while awareness opens the door, embodiment is what actually allows you to walk through it.